Okay.
What?
Punishment. An action that serves as a form of direction and correction. Capital punishment is a type of punishment that I think is cruel and unusual. Many people think that if a person commits a serious crime, it is always easier to put them on death row than to give them what they deserve. Some may think that this because they think it is cheaper and that the criminal deserves to be put on death row, but these opinions aren't necessarily true. One of the most common reasons people think that criminals should be put on death row is because they think that it is much cheaper than keeping them in jail for life. This is not true at all. It has been shown that it is much cheaper to put a person in prison for life rather than to put them on death row. So why is this? This is because the person put on death row can have multiple appeal trials in which the jury looks over the case to determine whether or not the person is guilty. All of these appeal trials cost the state and taxpayers a lot of money. Also, when going through a trial that is seeking the death penalty, the court has to go through two distinct phases, which are the conviction phase and the sentencing phase. These two phases cause a very long trial and also contributes to the high cost of trials that seek the death penalty. According to AmnestyUSA.org, death penalty trials cost an average of 48% more than the average cost of trials that are to seek life imprisonment. This goes to show how putting a criminal in prison for life is much cheaper than putting them on death row. Now that you know why it is cheaper to put a person in prison for life rather than putting them on death row, I will tell you another reason why the death penalty is so cruel. Another reason people are usually for the death penalty is because they think they are all guilty. This is also not true. Even though the United States criminal justice system has intricate procedures they must go through in order to prove someone innocent or guilty, there's always room for human error. DNA testing has taken place throughout the years, has proven that 14 inmates awaiting execution on death row were innocent. Many now believe that many convicts that have been executed in the past have been executed for crimes that they have not committed. The approval by society of the death penalty has lowered dramatically due to the amount of innocent people that have been executed for crimes they did not commit. Now that I have told you that not only it costs more to put a person on death row, but that there are also multiple innocent people being executed, I will now tell you about the punishments used to kill the convicts and how inhumane they are. All methods that are used on the convicts to execute them have a downside to them. The most common method used today is lethal injection. This method first puts the prisoner unconscious, then the breathing stops, and the prisoner eventually becomes paralyzed. After this is done, the heart is stopped, causing the prisoner to die. This method is the least inhumane if conducted properly. On the contrary, it can also be very painful and inhumane. If the dosage given to the prisoner is too low, the prisoner suffers a slow and painful death. Another method that was popular in the past was the electric chair and the firing squad. The electric chair was used in the past but has been made illegal because it shows that people put in the electric chair can live up to 4 to 10 minutes after the treatment, and during this time they experience terrible pain. The firing squad was used and recently made illegal. This method is done by having the prisoner tied up and blindfolded, while multiple people point guns at him. Then when given the order, they fire their guns. There is only one gun that has an actual bullet in it, and this is what makes the procedure so inhumane. Because there is a great chance that the bullet will miss and not kill the person right away. Both of these methods have been proven to be inhumane due to the painful deaths experienced by the prisoners. Another method that has not been recently used in the United States, but is still being used in other parts of the world, is hangings. This method is no longer used because there is a high chance that the prisoner will not die right away and be strangled instead. I have told you about how it is less expensive to sentence a prisoner with life in prison rather than putting them on death row. Most people that are on death row are proven innocent, and that sometimes the methods used can be inhumane and painful. So when you hear that a harmful crime was committed and that the court is seeking the death penalty, think of not only how inhumane the punishments are, but that most people on death row are innocent, and how much more it is costing everyone.